Welcome to the MLS Show. It is me, Baz. I am here to preview this weekend Matchday 3 Major League Soccer games ahead of the weekend. Let's start straight away with New York City against Orlando City. This one should be a corker. New York City have started really well. They got 4 points from their opening two matches. One away against Chicago Fire and followed it up last week with a 2-2 home draw against Toronto in a game that they could have won. They were 2-0 up. They probably should have won. Really allowed Toronto off the hook a little bit. And, took a decent point from it, though. Toronto will be up there as well. Orlando City, they've had two draws. They played their opening two games at home and drew both games. A little bit disappointing from Adrian Heat's men at the moment. Looking as though they're missing Kaka. Not sure whether he is going to be fit this weekend. It was touch and go, the last information I had for that one. Very similar with Frank Lampard for New York City. This one was a cracker last year. It was a bizarre game. It ended 5-3 at the Yankee Stadium. I remember Kaka hitting the post in about the 91st minute to make it 4-4, and New York City broke down the pitch and wrapped it up with a 5, for the fifth goal to kill the game. It was a marvellous game. I remember Kyle Larin scoring a hat-trick. It was a really, really good game, and I'm hoping it's going to be a really, really good game again this weekend. I do follow Orlando City, even though I do love all MLS sides, and I love watching all of these games. But I'm going to back, I never like to do this, but I'm going to back New York City this week. I think just at the moment, I don't think Orlando have clicked into gear yet. I've been impressed with Patrick Vieira's men so far. I'm going to say this ends 3-2 to New York City. I'll just write that down. Sorry to any Orlando fans there. You know my feelings on Orlando City. Chicago Fire against Columbus Crew. Chicago Fire, I watched them be all over the place the first week against New York City. Defensively, I thought they were quite good going forward, but defensively they were all over the place. I watched them last week against Orlando City, went down to 10 men after about half an hour, defended brilliantly. To be honest with you, they restricted Orlando City to very little after losing a man. I can remember Kyle Larin hitting a post. Other than that, there were shots from 20-25 yards out, which didn't really cause any problems. So I thought I was really, really impressed with Paunovic, with his men, how he had them organised. I thought Chicago Fire, with David Camp, they carry a threat. They carry a threat all the time. He's a great little player. I love watching David Camp. He's a fantastic little player. So, so they've really, really, between the two games, they've been great as an attacking force. Even last week with 10 men against Orlando City, on the break, fast, direct. Could have nicked it a couple of times. So they're going to be a threat going forward. And like I say, defensively, it looked as though they'd worked on the stuff from the week before and were a lot tighter and compact. And they're going to need to be, because even though Columbus Crew have lost their opening two games 2-1, I feel as though they're still waiting to catch fire. I feel, and I can see this weekend them causing problems for Chicago Fire unless Fire really, really concentrate. Because Kai Kamara, he's off the mark now. He scored last week in the home defeat against Philadelphia Union. So, he's up and running. They've got, Finley, Higuain. You can go on about Columbus Crew and talk about their threat all day long. The fact of the matter is they haven't started the season well, but you expect them to pick up at some stage. I'm going to say that this ends in a 1-1 draw. I'm going to go 1-1 in this one. New York Red Bulls against Houston Dynamo. Houston Dynamo were fabulous last week. The week before against New England Revolution, it was a last gasp equaliser for New England Revolution against Houston Dynamo. Last week they played against FC Dallas and destroyed them by 5-0, which was just a fantastic performance for Owen Coyle's men. They were brilliant. They were quite simply brilliant, and Dallas done well to keep it to 5, to be honest with you. Red Bulls have lost their opening two games. Lost at home to Toronto on Matchday 1 and lost on Matchday 2 to Montreal Impact 3-0. So not scored a goal yet. and conceded 5. So coming into that against Houston Dynamo, you're thinking, there could be goals. But, Houston have lost Giles Barnes. Doesn't look as though the skipper's going to be fit. He's going to be out for a few weeks. I'm going to fancy New York Red Bulls in this. I'm sorry, Houston. I know you've had a decent start. 4 points from 6 isn't a bad return. But I just feel as though Red Bulls have got to start at some stage. They've got to kick on. And I'm going to back them. It'll be narrow. I believe it'll be narrow. I think it's going to be 2-1 to New York Red Bulls. Strong side. I watched them against Toronto on day one. They were just a little bit short with the final pass, and Toronto caught them on the break toward the end. Last week they were well beaten in Montreal, but I feel as though it's going to come like you've got Bradley Wright Phillips in the side. He will always come up with the goods. So I'm going to go New York Red Bulls 2, Houston 1 in this one. I'm going to go with home advantage. FC Dallas against Montreal Impact. Dallas, me and Ped talked up massively last season. They were brilliant to watch. Loved watching Dallas last season. This season, won their opening game before losing, like I say, heavily 5-0 last week in Houston. This time out, Montreal Impact, who have been the most impressive side so far this season with back-to-back victories in their opening 2 games, scoring 6 goals and conceding 2. Look as though they're going to have Drogba in the squad as well. Dallas though very strong at home. I'm going 2-2 with this one. I'm going 2-2. I've just changed my mind because I was going to go with a Montreal victory, but I'm going to go 2-2. It's at Dallas. 2 goals apiece, a share of the spoils. On to Seattle Sounders against Vancouver Whitecaps. Seattle. They haven't been impressive so far. Lost at home to Sporting, I think it was on Matchday 1. Lost last week against Real Salt Lake. Weren't very good last week when I watched them. Huffed and puffed a lot. Got into good areas, but didn't really do anything with the ball. Was a bit disappointed in Clint Dempsey last week. Just didn't feel as though we had a good enough game. Jordan Morris ran around, but hasn't really clicked for him. At home to Vancouver, they haven't had a good start either. But I'm going to say that Seattle win this. I'm going to go at home. I think it'll be tight. I'm going to go 2-1 to Seattle Sounders at home to Vancouver Whitecaps. The Caps, I feel as though they will come good. They're a good side. They were a good side last season. I just think they look a little bit disjointed. It's early, so these teams will be a little bit disjointed. And a few people, just while I'm on that point, were commenting in the video saying that they felt as though we were underselling the fact how important it is to have a good position at the end of the season in terms of getting seeded and getting the home advantage in the playoff games. We ain't underselling that at all. That is massively important to do that. Of course it is. You want to finish as high as you can to be in the strongest position so that, when the draw comes out for MLS Cup, you're in a strong position, home and everything else. And you should be trying to finish and win the Supporters' Shield anyway, which is a trophy, and it's a very important trophy to win. But the point we were trying to make was, even if you have that poor start, it isn't the end of the world. You can still make the season a success. You can still catch up. And the season is a long, long season with many turns. It's difficult to win on the road in MLS. We know that. And so the season can swing. So just while I was on that point, I wanted to just say that we do not undersell the importance of finishing as high up as you can in terms of getting seeded and getting home advantage in the playoffs. LA Galaxy against San Jose Earthquakes. This one, I believe, will be an absolute cracker. LA have shown both sides of them. 4-1 win against DC United in the opening day of the season. Lost last week to a late Marco Papa goal at Colorado. San Jose, I was really impressed with them last week against Portland Timbers. Just the defensive aspect of it was fantastic. And they'd beaten Colorado on day 1 as well. So they've got 6 points. One of only 3 teams in MLS with a 100% record still. Going to Galaxy. You don't know what you're going to get with Galaxy. You really don't know what you're going to get. Against DC United for 45 minutes, they look shocking. They turned that round with a great performance in the second half to win 4-1. Last week, they were really, really poor. Just below average, given the calibre of play they've got. Oh, and this one's a tight one with Wondolowski at one end will get you goals. You know, Quincy, Amerikwa, that's it, Amerikwa. His goal last week was just sensational, absolutely sensational. So when you've got that in your side with that solid defence, you know, they could do damage. I'm saying this is a draw. Yeah, I'm going to draw. I'm going to a piece again. I like 2-2 because I just feel that there's goals in it. Moving on, Portland Timbers against Real Salt Lake. Timbers, MLS Cup holders, beat Columbus Crew first week. Went down 2-1 last week to San Jose Earthquakes. Entertaining Real Salt Lake, who have been decent, 4 points from their opening 2 fixtures so far. Were good last week against Seattle. But I'm going to say, I fancy Timbers in this. I do. I fancy Portland, and I'm going to say this ends 2-0 to Portland Timbers. These are just my guesses, of course, but all guessing. Philadelphia Union against New England Revolution. Philadelphia recorded a great win last week at Columbus Crew. 2 goals for Chris Pontius there. Looked good last week. Looked quite good. You know, nice and solid, nice and compact. Looked dangerous on the break. Sapong had a good game last week for them up top. Like I say, Pontius scored 2 good goals. Revs, 0-0 against DC United last week. DC defended absolutely fantastically last week. Real making sure they kept a clean sheet, getting bodies behind the ball, throwing bodies in the way of shots. Really meant something to them to keep a clean sheet last week. The Revs, good football again, you know, cutting open, Lee Wing cutting people open. Just couldn't take the chances. Going to Philadelphia, let's go with a draw. Let's sit fully on the fence and say this ends 1 apiece. 1-1 for that one. DC United against Colorado Rapids. I'm going with a DC United victory. Got beat heavily at Galaxy opening day. Like I say, last week defended brilliantly against the Revs to get off the mark with a point. Colorado beaten week 1 by San Jose, won last week with a late Marco Papa goal against Galaxy. Excuse me, but missing Gassi, who looked quite decent last week, missing him this time out. DC, I just feel home advantage will do this one. I'm going to say this one ends 2-1. I think Kevin Doyle will score for Colorado. And the final game, Sporting KC against Toronto FC. Toronto have impressed me. They won at Red Bulls Day 1, drew at New York City last week. Look a very, very strong side, Toronto. But Sporting KC won at Seattle Day 1 and then followed it up with a 2-1 win last week. But Dom Dwyer's goals last week against Vancouver, absolutely brilliant. The first one was marvellous. Drilled it from outside the box, in off the underside of the bar. Absolutely brilliant. And then the second goal, ghosting in at the far stick to knock it in. Real good striker's goal. And they've made, one of the 3 teams who've made 100% start. But I think Toronto was solid. I think Toronto were very, very difficult to beat. Good side, well organised. And this one ends 1 apiece for me. So I've got splinters in my backside for sitting on the fence on so many of those games. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have I got these scores madly wrong? Anything else you wanna say in the comments below? Give us a subscribe, like this video, share it, tell your friends about it. Try and get us over. We're very close to 2,000 subs now on this channel. And it's growing all the time, and it's thanks to you that it's growing. Interact with us on Twitter at the MLS Show. We're always there. We will always have a chat. Check out the website as well, themlsshow.com. There's a couple of good blogs gone up there from one of our writers. It's really, really good. Like us on Facebook, the MLS Show, and look out for more videos over the weekend. I've been Baz. I'm going to bed. I'm full of cold. My throat's really hurting. Sorry about the voice. But I'll catch you over the weekend with more videos. Till next time, thanks for watching. Catch you later. Welcome to the MLS Show. It is me, Baz. I am here to preview this weekend Matchday 3 Major League Soccer games. ahead of the weekend. Let's start straight away with New York City against Orlando City. This one should be a corker. Or New York City have started and wrapped it up with a 5, for the 5th goal to kill the game. It was a marvellous game. I remember Kyle Larin scoring a hat-trick. It was a really, really good game. And I'm hoping it's going to be a really, really good game again this weekend. I do follow Orlando City, even though I do love all MLS sides. And I love watching all of these games. But I'm gonna say the last information I had for that one. Very similar with Frank Lampard for New York City. This one was a cracker last year. It was a bizarre game. It ended 5-3 at the Yankee Stadium. I remember Kaka hitting the post in about the 91st minute to make it 4-4, and New York City broke down the pitch. Will be up there as well. Orlando City, they've had 2 draws. They played their opening 2 games at home and drew both games. A little bit disappointing from Adrian Heath's men at the moment. Looking as though they're missing Kaka. Not sure whether he is going to be fit this weekend. It was touch and go the last very well. They got 4 points from their opening 2 matches. One away against Chicago Fire and followed it up last week with a 2-2 home draw against Toronto in a game that they could have won. They were 2-0 up. They probably should have won. Really allowed Toronto off the hook a little bit. And, took a decent point from it though. Toronto will, for me,